Dana, can you unmute him?
She's on YouTube now. She said it's working.
It's on, but I have to push the URL out on our Facebook page so that people can get to that. It's actually on my school accounts channel because we all have those apparently in Google.
No, I want to know if you can
I can't. His audio is not connected.
She's on
Okay.
YouTube now. She said it's working. Chad, I'm bringing this back. You have to sign this before I turn it in. You have to sign it up there, sorry. Okay.
Well, I think he's up now. I gotta turn the volume down a little. Oh, wow, you can hear. Yeah, it's a little loud. I wish I'd have brought another set of headphones. That really makes it easy when you can listen. Not now. I could before. You're muted. Your microphone's muted. Now you should be okay. No. Yeah, I did. I got you. You got to talk a little closer to your computer because when you sit way back, I don't think it's picking you up. Try that. It's kind of delayed.
If we're able to move on to the reorganization board, am I chasing it at all?
We can hear you, but it's delayed. Are you guys getting the same thing? Okay, that's just way that's technology.
All right.
We'll just have to deal with it.
So for the reorganization board, the election of president, vice president, point I'd like to open up nominations.
Well, actually, the district administrator starts the nomination for president, and then the president takes over. So at this time, we would entertain nominations for president. Nathan?
I would nominate Eugene Euling.
We have a nomination by Nathan and a second by Lee. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, is there a motion to close nominations?
I move to pass the unanimous, close nominations and pass unanimous ballot.
Okay. Motion is passed on unanimous ballot.
Next is our vice president position.
Cindy Ganell.
Second.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, we have a motion to close nominations.
I move to close nominations and cast unanimous ballot.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next is the position of clerk. Nomination.
I nominate Lee Gill.
I second that.
Any other nominations? We have a motion to close.
I move to close nominations and pass the unanimous ballot.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close nominations?
Second. Aye.
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 Dates, times, and
Currently, we have 2 meetings a month on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. If if we were to change, then we could go back to the policy format. And we could use the second meeting of the month as strictly a policy meeting night. What's that?
just for policy, additional information.
Well, or I meant for committees. Did I say policy? I meant committees, yes, for committees.
Go ahead, Lee.
Lee, you need to unmute, please.
Yep. Personally, I'm an advocate, as you all know, I have been always for the committee meetings. I truly believe that by pursuing anything that committees need to deal with on a smaller group, we can come to the table with more information prepared and ready to present to the rest of the board. So I truly support committee structure.
If I could, I previously have been opposed to the committee structure, and the past 2 years have supported the idea of a group as a whole. And I'm actually open to the idea of committees and seeing if it could be more efficient for the group as a whole. I know we're gonna have a little bit longer meetings on that monthly meeting that we do have, and we may have to have an occasional emergency meeting or something of that nature, but I think this group has shown the ability to be willing to do that at the drop of a hat. And so if the majority of the board believes so, I'm open, unlike I had been previously, to have.
So then we have to appoint members to the committees if that's the choice,
Yeah.
yep. And it's 2 appointees and an alternate, I believe. Or you can volunteer for a committee, I
It'd be
believe.
3. It'd be 3.
3 and then an alternate, okay.
Yeah, if we decided to do that, I would not be opposed to doing the committees at the next meeting,
Okay,
just because I'm sure there may be some members who did not anticipate
Okay.
that may be where the direction that we go, if that's how we vote. I'm okay to do it now too, but I think that would be up to the members. I'd be interested in what some of the other members have to say.
I think that would be a great idea to wait till next meeting because we have some members on the board who've not experienced committee members and would give them some time to think about the possibilities and what they might be interested in.
So it sounds like the direction would be to have your motion to advance that.
I'll make that motion.
I would second it.
And this requires
All in favor.
I'll call division, so you have to do one. The question I forgot to hit by me is whether they need to be a roll
Call,
call.
but we don't know if we need to or not, so I'll just call division. Makes we have to do a roll call.
Okay, Euling, Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Yes, yes, was that yes?
Yes.
Okay, Gill,
Yes.
Cannell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
we'll be doing the second and fourth Wednesdays. The first will be for committee, a meeting of the whole, second for committees, and we'll determine committees at our next meeting. So that takes us down to consideration of appointments for the following positions. It's the WASB Liaison delegate and alternate delegate to CISA 3 convention. Do you have any nominees for the first position? WASB delegate?
Currently, Lee is our WASB liaison and Eugene is our alternate. Was for this last year.
I would move that those be continued in those two individuals continue in those two capacities.
Second.
roll, okay. All right, Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Gill,
I'll abstain.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling,
We're good. Next is delegate to CISA 3 convention. Do you have nominations for that?
Currently, Melanie Andrews serves in that role.
Oh, I will nominate Melanie to continue in that role.
Second that.
so Ray,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
Andrews,
Abstain.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Teasdale,
Yes.
I didn't vote on that one. It's yes, but I didn't vote.
I just heard Jacinda say she didn't get to vote on that.
I suspect not a, other people, I think, so the next item is our designation of official school newspaper.
Currently, the Republican Journal is our official school newspaper.
I'll make the motion that we continue with the Republican Journal as our official school newspaper.
Second.
yes. Okay. Cannell,
Abstain.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
Motion carries. The The next two are resolutions that we policies.
The district is currently using Claire Bank in downtown Shelburne.
I'll make the motion to continue with Clear Bank as our designated depository.
I'll second.
Second.
Roll call, okay. Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes,
Ganell,
Yes.
Great, thanks so much. Carries. Next is the recognition of policy. What we've done is we have them come down out. You guys come here. I'll get out of there.
Otherwise, I should get out of the way.
That's all right. Let me just figure out how to make this bigger. You guys are going, I'm gonna leave this spot and you guys are gonna see people who are more deserving of the spot than me.
I don't know about that, but we'll take your spot. Okay, I'm Jill Riley. I'm Ella. Okay, and we're just here just to let you know that there is a committee formed, like a graduation committee. It's based with the senior class officers, parents, advisors. The Miss Moorhart has been kind of spearheading it for us. She's been our common ground. As far as like graduation goes, I know it's an emotional time for everyone and we're on some pretty uncharted waters here. We want to know that we're here, I guess, to work with you and see if we can come up with a plan.
thank you.
We're just trying to plan on like what will work legally, like a celebration, and also so the seniors can get like proper like recognition, I guess, kind of.
Thank you.
I'm gonna talk to Melanie Schulter here. Is there anything in particular as a senior that you would want us to consider as we craft what it's gonna look like?
I think take into like consideration like our high school process. It hasn't been just like us and our parents. We've been like with our classmates. So it would like, it means a lot to have your parents there too, but it also means a lot to be with your class and other family members too. To be included in our celebration.
Thank you.
I guess I am.
So if we had any additional questions, we can reach out to you directly and you'd be able to communicate with your.
Yeah, definitely. And I know one thing that we discussed too today, we talked about a parade. I don't know if you've seen just like the drive-by parades. I know that there's liability discussion on that. We wondered if we took it upon like as a parent run event and not a school event, if that would be something that could be legit, I guess. And we had Toby Spillane offer to do a one-day event liability insurance, just in case of anything. Just so the school isn't liable, yeah. And also like the seniors, we also understand like you can't get into the school until after June 30th as of right now. So even extending the date back further, or whatever the board is good with, for just like as like a date for a celebration, we understand that as well. And I,
Quite a lot of very, so my understanding that we could try to a primary course like after this event, but I think the way that situation, we need to be flexible and try to accommodate fallback that we may need to have. So that's, I think, how we are taking time to share your thoughts on the committee with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that about it? No, I think the consensus is they just obviously want to have something, which we know will happen. But yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. Free to stay, hang out, or
We'll watch you on Facebook.
YouTube.
all right. Well, all right. Next is consideration of consent agenda. Following items.
Can
Included
hear
on
you.
this approval of the agenda, approval of minutes, the regular board meeting, approval of baseball, softball co-op, track tryout for 2021-22. I will note that there is one clerical error when we get to the second page of our agenda, which is under 17. The third, or pardon me, the fourth item is D, and it reflects that it says 16EI and 16II, and those just need to be referred to as 17D, I, and 17DII. So that's the only clerical exception, but do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the question? Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I have a question.
So does that mean
That the personnel, all A, B, C, are all in closed session for 17, A, B, and C? No. I was wondering if is A okay being in open session? Okay, that's the only thing I had a question.
Okay.
I'll move to accept.
Second.
Okay, no problem. Okay, Yuling, Gil,
Yes. Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Ganell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
All right, next is notice of public hearing. We have three items. The first is Portal Hill comments from the public pertaining to request for a DPI waiver pursuant to the Wisconsin statute S.I.118.38 COVID-19 health emergency for instructional hours for 2019.
This fits the statutory requirement in order for the school district to file for a waiver. Language was provided to us by the school attorney. So anyone out there that would like to make a comment on this, whether, you know, we will eventually down the agenda be seeking a resolution to waive the instructional hours requirement. The DPI has said that it will fast track it and they will approve all waivers. So any comment?
All right, seeing none, go to item B, which is the Portal Hill comments pertaining to the DPI waiver pursuant to Wisconsin statute S.118.38 for public health emergency for civics examination requirement for 2019-2020.
We actually only have one more student that would be required to pass the civics examination, but at this particular time during this emergency, we feel that it would be best to request the waiver just in case we are not able to accommodate that and get that student what they need to pass.
Seeing none, go to item C, which is Portal Hill comments from the public pertaining to its request for DPI waiver pursuant to Wisconsin statute 118.38 due to COVID-19. Public health emergency for completion of educator effectiveness cycle for educators in their summer year in 2019-20.
So
Excuse
the
me.
educator effectiveness
Still can't hear
is,
Eugene. Dana's saying that she still can't, people can't hear you. She's just commenting. Something's not picking up. Dana's just commenting.
It's not working or the modulator. Okay, that's good. I moved them. Does that sound any better?
We'll see what Dana says.
Eugene, you sound like you're talking underwater.
okay, for this, this waiver, basically the one, if passed through a resolution, school district basically can go 3 different ways. They can accept that the teachers in their summary year have done enough and they're done. They could, it'd be very difficult for them to complete it right now, but I guess it could be a requirement for the school to have them complete it, or they could just forgive it and let them go into the next year. Or I'm sorry, not complete it. Sorry, it's kick them ahead so that they don't have to redo their summer year, or they can make them do the summary year over. So I got, the waiver doesn't preclude us from having those teachers that were near the end or in their summer year finishing it. They're very close to the end, but there's a lot of things that they can't, there's no data for them to complete their SLOs because we didn't do the state testing, and a lot of that is linked to their educator effectiveness evaluation. So the waiver just gives the school board, the school district, the opportunity to not have to complete that this year, but the decision of how we move forward can be at a future board meeting directive.
I think the options explained once we do get ready to address that. I think just refreshing us on that. So, understanding what the best option is. All right. The next is our 16 items of business, and it's the first item is consideration of an action on a resolution requiring waivers for instructional hours, civic exam requirement, completion of the educator effectiveness cycle for educators in their summer year 2020.
Well, the resolution was included. The resolution was provided to us by our school attorney. I noticed there's no number on it. I don't know. This is new to me. So if that is something that the school just decides to put a number on it or a name or.
I think you would just do it as 20-1 because it's the first resolution for this year, this new school. That's all it means. So that if anybody wanted to come back in the future, they could document it.
And what I will do with this, if it were to be passed, I will work on the actual completion of the 3 different waiver forms through the DPI, and I may need some signatures, but we'll need a signature and on the resolution and such. I mean, that's a definite. I'm going to provide this now to Lee Gill so that when we go through, if it were motioned and approved, to go through the voting process.
And you go first.
All good.
My understanding is for the educator effectiveness, we're just delaying it, just pushing down the road.
That can't be a choice.
Is that the one that we're picking, or are we not making that decision today?
Right. We're not making that decision.
We're just asking for the waiver to be,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. And then we can decide if we want them to complete that summer year or forgive it or push them on.
Make the motion to pass the resolution, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Second. Okay. Jacinda
Who
does.
seconded that?
Jacinda.
Gill,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Ganell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling,
Motion carries. Next is the consideration of action on revisions to the 2019-20 Good Friday number count.
So Jill went through and made some corrections to the third Friday count. Jill, could you please, is it all right if I have Jill explain it? Because she does it, I'm not involved in this. So Jill, please explain to me what you explained to me a little while ago.
sure. So I had to make a correction on the third Friday of September pupil count and also the second Friday in January's pupil count. We have a part-time student, homeschooled student as a resident that comes in and takes one class, and she was not counted initially. So I had to go in and make that correction. So it just added one student to our count for both of the pupil counts.
You need one motion for each?
I think we should.
Okay, I would make a motion. Make a motion to accept the modification to the 2019-2020 third Friday, September.
I'll
second it.
Second that.
Okay. So Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Ganell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Gill,
Yes.
Next is the consideration of action on revision to the 2019-20 second Friday January count, as Jill just explained.
I'll make a motion to approve the modification.
Yeah, you already did. Jacinda's making a
Okay.
motion right now.
Yep. She's. I'll second that.
Ray,
Yes.
Ganell, Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Gill,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Next is consideration of an action on the summer garden project.
Well, I'd like to say I was approached by Lori Wick, but I haven't been approached by anybody in person. So, but I have had an email train. Sorry, I'm just trying to interject a little humor in here. I did have there's an email thread between Lori and myself. The Lafayette County Extension would like to have a temporary garden on the south side of the junior high gym here, on this side of the sidewalk, I believe. It wouldn't be out in the lawn. It would be
On the mulch.
movable on pallets. And I'm going to turn it over to Lee, the master gardener, because she's working with Lori and will be working with our students with this project. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, I'm actually working with Donna Peterson. That's the extension agent we share with Iowa County and Lori Burgett Wick on this. And we've had a couple Zoom conferences to structure it and then present it. It actually will be a garden that all the produce will go to the food pantry. And if there's enough, maybe some to the senior meal site. The Dunbarton 4-H would be the targeted group of students to work with. We already have Zach Woodworth making 4x4. It's going to be like a square foot garden raised bed thing. And it's going to be in the area where the bicycle rack is. So Zach's going to put it right on pallets so it can be lifted right in and set there. It'll have a fabric liner in it, so it will not create any kind of a mess to our landscaping area at all. The goal would be to start on May 8th. We've kind of set a timeline where that would be set the week of May 11th. What we will be doing is doing safe distancing. I would be working with 8 students. Let's say we schedule it for a Monday morning. I would have a half-hour time slot with the pre-scheduled students so that we are maintaining safe distancing while the students are actually doing the work and I'm instructing them with the gardening. The week of May 22nd, we would be starting watering and weeding the plants on a weekly basis. And then starting June 13th, Donna Peterson, the program is called FoodWise, that she would be coming in and also offering some additional education to the students. There will be documentation the students can do in terms of the weight of the produce and the growth of the produce. They'll be required to take photos along the way and document kind of in conjunction with 4-H projects. And simply, it'll be mid-October when the project will end. The questions that Donna and Lori posed to me would be that in mid-October, does the district prefer that we remove those pallets completely and store them? Or leave them in place? And what would the school district need for documentation? Would you want some of the same documentation that's already being done by the FoodWise program, such as telling the story of how many pounds of produce and the number of youth involved? Would you like a document as a board to have in return for doing the project?
There's two things that popped in my head. First of all, it sounds like a tremendous program. I think we should do it. The only issue, there's only two questions that I have. Number one is I do think it violates the order because we can't have any, whether you like the order or not, the order says that we can't have any kids on premises doing anything until after the end of June. And if it was a school on school property, if we did it across the street at if somebody happened to do it across the street someplace else and students happen to be participants, that would be fantastic. But that's my biggest concern is I'm certainly not a fan of the order. I'm not going to tell everybody that, but I don't think why it's currently constituted that we can do it on property. The only other question I had is because of what we're planning on doing to this room or this gym, if that was the perfect location for it going forward. I think it's a great idea. I really do. I think it's anytime we can get kids to learn how to grow vegetables and do that type of stuff and then go to a good cause. Those are just my two concerns about it.
Do you think that there's an alternate location that could be found to meet the timeline?
Well, as Nathan was speaking, I was already in my mind thinking of another location that could work with extension. So I would be doing it independently of the school, but still working with the 4-H. So that's not a problem. I think
I know there's a law office in town that has a fairly large lot if we needed to find something that worked.
And an outside faucet.
We have both of those.
Oh boy.
So I do think that there's an option there. I do think it's something that we need to do, and in any other year, I don't think that would be a question of this board.
Do you think the law office would donate the use of their land?
So
Can you hear Nathan? Jacinda? Jacinda, can you hear Nathan?
I can hear Nathan. Can he hear me?
He just offered
Jacinda,
that.
I'm sorry, I missed I had mine on mute because I'm getting too much feedback, but the law office may charge some very exorbitant rent, but we'd probably be able to negotiate that out.
Okay. I'll report back to extension tomorrow, Nathan, and you and I can talk.
Taking no action on that. Next is consideration of an action on continuation of providing free breakfast and lunch due to COVID-19.
In light of the most recent order by the governor, I think that it behooves us to continue providing free breakfast and lunch to the young people. It's not just our students, it's anybody 18 or under in our community. It's similar to our summer program. So if someone comes here, they can be fed. I believe I've communicated with the Lafayette County nurses because they're trying to compile all the places where meals are being served, the extension, sorry. So I think, and you know, most of the meals are reimbursable, just like our summer program. I think it's a great thing for our young people. Question I would have, I wish I would have brought it up at a previous meeting, is if we wanted to, you know, like on vacation days, if we still wanted to provide those meals for students instead of saying, nope, we're not doing that. A lot of communities are doing that. So I think it's a good thing for our school to continue.
Totally agree. I will move that we continue providing the free lunch and breakfast program with inclusion of the days that we're not.
It-
I have a question about that, about having it on the days of vacation. Would that alter contracts with the cook staff?
I don't think, in light of the fact that their days are not as long as, you know, previous to this whole pandemic, I don't think that would be a problem. And in conversation with our head cook, that won't be a problem because he continues to ask me if we're going to do that.
Okay.
And I will make that motion with inclusion of the days off.
I will second that. I do have one comment, if I can, Chairman. I just wanted to say publicly how impressed I am with the staff on what they're doing and what they've been able to do. On a number of occasions, I've seen them stay later, make extra meals for kids when people are late. I just wanted to say publicly how personally I'm impressed by them and what they've been able to accomplish.
Agreed.
All right.
Right, Donnell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Gill,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
This is consideration of on changes to virtual learning due to COVID-19.
Well, a thought popped into our heads, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Because the waiver, we are filing for the waiver, there is an opportunity to provide, I don't know if it's relief or at least a couple days off for students. I would suggest, I guess, in talking with Mrs. Bendorf, we were kind of looking at possibly, or upon your approval, obviously, turning our weeks into 4-day weeks for students, but continue to use the 5th day for staff for in-service professional development. There's a lot of things that they're probably not getting time to do because they're preparing virtually. Nobody's trained for this. And they're working, you know, I echo Nathan's comments about our food service staff. Our teaching staff is trying to do what they can to provide for our students. And I think we continue that. I was in a Zoom meeting yesterday with statewide superintendents, and there are a couple districts that are shortening the year. I don't suggest we do that. I think that's a bad PR move. Unless you were going to think about maybe trading 2 weeks in May for 2 weeks in August and have a contract, an agreement, formal agreement written up by our attorney that this is what we'll do for staff is trade 2 weeks in, you know, we'll pay you now, but you're going to give us 2 weeks in August type of thing. I personally would like us just to continue through the days that we have, but I also kind of would like to have our students have a little bit of break 1 day a week, but that's up to you. It's not a necessary thing. I'm not going to lie on the floor and cry or anything. I just think it's something to consider. We have, it's within our rights to do it. Sorry.
Your thoughts are that would apply for elementary.
Yes, all students.
I had called Eugene earlier this week or late last week asking about an agenda item. And that was one of the things that I indicated to him that I do believe that we should go to a 4-day week. I disagree a little bit with Mr. Lehrman in the sense, I actually think that our seniors should be done on the 4th of May, assuming that they're passing all their classes. And I also think that we would be better off looking at stopping school a week earlier. Given what traditionally happens the last 3 days of school, I don't think that we would be doing a public relations issue or shortchanging our children on education by stopping 1 week early, just given what normally would be happening at the school. And that's not a knock, it's just, that's what happens at the end. Kids are doing field trips, we're doing reward programs, those types of things. And I really think, as far as the seniors go, I think that throwing them a bone in that regard would be something. Now, if the kids still need to do, they're still taking, a couple kids maybe taking AP tests, and so they may still need to do that instruction. But if they're passing all their classes, I think that's something that we should look at as well.
When I brought that up with Mark, he had came up with the same idea. So I think we're on the same plane with the discussion.
I would agree with what Nathan's saying. I know looking at my kids' schedules for the last week of school, I deleted field trips. I deleted class trips. I deleted many days. I think I have an 8th grader that probably would have got out of school early, I think, looking at it. That last week of school, it was many things that were canceled where they wouldn't have been in school anyway.
I would also agree with that.
So just to clarify, so we get this down right, seniors May 4th, if they're passing.
And I haven't made a motion yet, I'm asking what.
No, but I just.
Seniors are done May 4th if they're passing.
And our last day of all other students is Dana, what's that day? I don't have it.
Would be the 22nd of May, the Friday before Memorial Day, correct, Nathan?
I can't hear you.
May 22nd, the day before.
May 22nd for everyone else?
That would be
Memorial Day is the
It's not
26th.
set in
my
stone.
calendar up.
What's that?
So the last day was originally scheduled for students on May 29th. So if you were to
Okay.
close school a week early, it would be the 22nd, which would have been.
Okay.
high school graduation.
And I believe that would be just 4 days, right? Where does Memorial Day fall?
That's the 25th. So yeah,
Yes.
it
Yeah,
would
so
be
it'd
the
be
Monday
4
after
days.
the last day.
It'd be 4 days for everyone else. Then you wouldn't have to go to a 4-day week if you don't want to, or you could still do that too. But whatever you decide, it has to be in the motion.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is that we go to a 4-day week, Tuesday through Friday.
I would like to see us go to a 4-day week. I think that
I
would be.
agree.
And
think
I
that-
agree. I
As
think
Mark
the 4-day
mentioned,
week would
talking
be a
about
great
in-service
idea.
for the teachers, correct?
Yeah, I think that gives the teachers a catch-up day. I think that it worked out quite well when we had those Mondays off when this first started. I completely agree with that. And I'm also in agreement to the school year being done on the 22nd. But I would not want to start school earlier than September 1st.
No. I agree with you on that, Lauren.
Well, we might not have a choice.
I would make a motion then, and that motion to be that going forward, starting effective next week, that we meet for school instruction on Tuesdays through Fridays, and that the normal school year would end on the 22nd of May. Additionally, seniors who are passing all their classes, their last day would be the 1st of May. However, well, the 4th is a Monday, so it'd be the 1st of May, next Friday.
Oh.
And that instruction should still be offered to any seniors taking the AP test. Because I think that's in the middle of May.
I would second that motion.
What about students that are taking other online classes besides the current ones? Because we do have some seniors taking Apex classes. They're not AP classes per se, but they're online classes.
Could you hear her? She said we have students taking online AP classes, that seniors that are taking classes that may not be done by then.
Well, not even
Not
AP though.
Apex.
They just continue.
You know, my understanding based on my personal experience is that those with my daughter, that is still the responsibility of that child. And that
Okay.
we would still have to provide oversight as we normally would under those circumstances. Like I think last year, my daughter had until June 15th to finish an AP course. And so I think whatever those requirements are, we would continue to follow those.
Well, I just am questioning because my kid he was supposed to be taking a 1 semester class this semester in a history class, and he's actually started the 2nd semester, and I'm sure he's going to want to finish it.
Well, I would say that the last required day for seniors is May 1st, and any senior who wants to continue instruction or needs to continue instruction can.
So what do we do? What would be our deadline for students that are not passing? I mean, they would continue to work, so we would just use the regular schedule.
Regular.
What's that? Yes? I'm sorry, I've got,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
okay. So we would just use the May
22nd.
20, I think, 20th is our last official day, or 19th on a Tuesday.
Yeah, we
We
normal
could
day for
use-
seniors, which I think
Yeah,
is.
we could go to the 22nd. So May 22nd would be for those that are not passing to finally make amends.
Kind of a robust motion, but we'll make sure that we have all of that time. So
Help each other.
Great. Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Gill,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Cannell,
Yes.
motion carries. Next is our discussion of 2019 Wisconsin Act 25 school board reporting requirements.
I'm not going to beleaguer this point, but with the Wisconsin Act 185, I included it in your packet. There's a lot of requirements of the school board, the reporting requirements. So it's going to get political, and we're going to stay above the fray, but there's going to be a push for us to account for money saved during this, because there will be some cost savings. Utilities, transportation, we have officials, field trip, all those things, the subs. So we have to report all that, and we have to report what we're going to do with it. I think, and we'll have to write up a reason why. I think we'll be able to put, if there are some savings, I mean, obviously we can spend some before the end of the fiscal year, but also I think we would be within our rights to put money back in the fund balance this year, because we are below what board policy is. And I don't think we would get dinged, a great deal for that. I will be talking later about the budget, but this is all part of all the things that we have to report to the DPI, who will then be reporting to the legislators. Legislators, sorry.
All right. More on that later. And next is item H, discussion of senior awards process due to extended school closure, COVID-19.
So we had a discussion with seniors, and we were just trying to get ideas. I can only go on what I can go on. Whatever information I received from the governor, the ASB. So I took the leadership role and tried to start the process of figuring out, what are we going to do with these seniors? There was no intent to try to actually make the decision. It's tough for everybody. I feel for these seniors. I want to do everything we can for them. I told the seniors that in their meeting. I told the parents group in their meeting today at 3:30. Ultimately, the decision's up to you. I get that. But oftentimes, we're asked to get input. I just tried to do it ahead of time. That's all. And if I did something wrong, I apologize. But we're just trying to do right by our seniors and give them a proper send-off. And no matter what we do, I don't think it's going to be like what is traditional, because it won't be on May 22nd. So that.
Could you share with us what the discussion? I mean, I have no idea what.
I did not take notes on that discussion. That would be, Miss Ella Riley was in as class president.
Okay.
Miss Morhart, Miss Bendorf ran it. There was no formal action. You know, basically the seniors want to have, this is the impression I got. They want to have a traditional ceremony or something where it's in person. And at this point in time, if the governor's order stays true, that won't happen until after June 30th. July's on the table. And if you want to go in July and that's okay with everybody, but everybody has schedules too, but who knows what's going to happen? You know, every family vacation's been changed because of this. So we had made I made the suggestion at the last board meeting. I would like to honor them somehow. But again, those are just my ideas. They're not set in stone. It's just, I see what other people are doing and I suggest it. So it's up to you and your discussion.
So the meeting that was today with the committee, was that exclusively for graduation, or was that senior awards and graduation?
They talked about both. They talked about both graduation and senior awards. I think senior awards is a little different, but again, that's, I mean, if you want to wait on that, I've been in contact with Dixie Packet from the Emily Franz to see what they could, you know, it's all up in the air. They're just suggestions. There's nothing set in stone, but I think to think that we're going to have a person, you know, in-person sort of celebration, I can't work that way. I can't work that way at this point in time because of the order and what we are directed to do.
Okay, so
these are
really
separate
dumb idea.
items on the agenda. So just because they are so closely related, I'd like to discuss those jointly. And to Mark's point, he mentioned at our last meeting that we would maybe do these virtually, but that's, I think, the reason why we wanted to reflect on it for tonight and then see what other ideas we have. Is there anyone else that has looked at alternate ideas for a virtual ceremony for both of those?
I just want to comment if I can. There is a online group of parents of senior students that discusses stuff, and there seems to be some confusion because I think a lot of seniors were led to believe that the option of having the normal graduation ceremony in July or August is totally off the table, and I think we just need to make it clear that it's not totally off the table. It's just might have to be at a later date, or we got to work it out.
So could we, I guess, just a thought that comes into my head, because of the June 30th date, our community has a pretty big celebration for 4th of July. And I would venture to guess that a good deal of people that live in this area are still around for the 4th of July because of that. So could we not just plan to do something on that in conjunction with that holiday? I think that's going to give us the biggest chance to have the most people still here.
I understand where Lauren's coming from. I actually look at it differently, maybe than most. I read the order saying that we can't do anything at school until June 30th. I read the order that says that the state order ends on the 6th
of May.
I believe, I'm not an expert in health and occupations, but I believe the sooner that you could do an event closer to the 26th, when people theoretically have been in their homes
And doing that, we would be better off. And I believe we need to look at alternatives outside of buildings that the school owns and do that there. Whether that such as the park, such as the churches, such as other facilities, if maybe those individuals or those entities need to let us do it. But I think after seeing what the Air Force did last week, I had some ideas.
Yeah, that's what I was just
in
thinking.
that regard. And I actually think the sooner that you do it closer to June 1st, I think that's Monday, closer to the date that flipped, the safer
It is for people.
I don't know what the city's planning on for the 4th of July, like Lauren mentioned, but I actually think we need to look at an alternative of closer
To the 26th of May.
so that it's safer for people. And I do think there's gonna be some limitations of people who can attend, those types of things, but I think that's what we need to be looking at sooner rather than later.
Any other thoughts?
I would agree with Nathan on that philosophy because we have so much compliance with shelter at home. I would additionally suggest that we would offer masks as most of the meetings I'm attending now. We actually have a temperature check, but that wouldn't be such an issue if it was outdoors somewhere. But I would suggest that we offer masks for attendees.
That's an interesting idea for that, to make sure that everyone is even safer.
Well, the purpose of a mask is that if you are even an asymptomatic, you are not spreading it to others. So the mask prevents me, the individual who may have it, from spreading it to others.
I know there's a number of retail establishments like hardware stores and things that are offering masks when you walk in the door, you don't already have one on. So I think that carries over with that.
On Nathan's point, I have a question on the safe at home order with the schools. Does that include the school grounds or does it include school sponsored events?
I'm not the school attorney, as I like to say all the time. But when I read the order, I read it as you cannot use school location or school facilities until after the end of the school year, which is June 30th. I have not asked Eugene or asked Mr. Learman to have an opinion from Eileen on that, but that is my reading of it. And that when the safe at home order would be lifted, that general other people could choose to do what they want to do
at that point.
And I don't think the school would be in violation if it wasn't at the school. Now,
well,
we talk about the whole political nature and the legal ramifications.
That's not what we're here for.
I mean, there's things that may change by the time we have this board meeting next. But I think that's at least, when Eugene started this, he looked at, or when he talked to Riley, about having a multi-pronged approach.
That's what I'm looking at, is a multi-pronged approach. And if we have a date in May, we have a date in May, then we have a backup in June, or we have a backup in July, or we have 2 in July because of rain. Because if we have to, realistically, we're probably going to have it outside no matter what, whether that be at Badger Park or at the area out here behind the school. Just because if we want to continue to do social distancing, I think we need to have a couple of those dates. And if people can't be here, they can't be here. I get it. But at some point, we're just going to have to make a plan. And then one thing that we haven't talked about is the scholarship night. I think if we do it in May or very early in June, it should be done at the same time or that same day or shortly there before. Correct. You know, we don't have to necessarily do it I know that our neighbors do that in Benton, but I can't imagine our ceremony where we're going to have the band and choir like we normally would. That's not going to happen. And so whether we do it then, and we may not be able to have everybody present. You know, we may not be able to have the folks who do the scholarships present. It may be Miss Morehart or somebody else reading the names off. Correct. I think we have to make that optional for what we can do. But I really want us to try to focus on doing something in person for both. And if we can't do it, especially get on the scholarships, I made the comment last time that if we have to reach into mid to late June, we've got to make a movement because the kids are going to need to know. But I think if there's a majority who believe, or if we get an opinion from Eileen that supports my theory that we could have something on June 1st is a Monday, but sometime before that or shortly thereafter, I think we do it.
I completely agree with all that. My concern is the phased approach.
Yeah.
The phased approach that's been outlined by the governor. first phase limits social gatherings to 10 people. And then we don't know how long that phase is going to last. The assumption it's the first phase after May 26th, assuming that doesn't get moved up. So if we can do it, I say do it. I think it's that we would be able to have a large group of people together in early June and not violate the orders of the state government.
So this is not an action item, but we certainly are able to take these ideas and ask our administration to check out these options that we would suggest and see what we need to do to make those as scheduled, but then also having backup dates. So is it pretty much an agreement that we'd want to have a date that's close to the lifting of the stay at home?
Yes, that's what I would agree with.
I like the idea of having goals. I think what Lauren talked about was important in the sense that if we can get one great, or if we have to get one in July. I may have misheard everything Lauren said, so if I did, correct me. But I think having at least those times so that we are prepared for those. And I think we have to make a decision at the next meeting. I don't think we can delay. We have to be able to make a decision. And I would be happy to talk to the city if that would help the school. I would be happy to talk to the clerk and the mayor and see if we can get on the agenda if we have to do that. If that would be something that you need me to do.
Have extended dates that as we've already had for our state already. So have those prepared at the next meeting too.
Well, that and weather too, because we're gonna be outside. If it's like tonight, you can't have it.
Yeah, I would agree. Jackson, I think you're gonna have to have those dates, and you're always gonna have to have back-to-back dates.
Yeah.
Or Saturday and Sunday. So,
Weather.
For that, because we're here.
And we did Badger Park, we cluster families together, but like the airport did, where they just had seats 6 feet apart from each other.
I think it's a good idea for Nathan to go ahead with talking to the city just to make sure that option's open.
Did anybody hear Jacinda just now? Will you repeat, Jacinda?
I just said that I think it would be a good idea for Nathan to check with the city officials to make sure that if we need to, using the park would be an okay idea before we proceed planning anything into the next step.
I would be happy to volunteer to verify or at least try to get on their agenda for next week.
Would you like me in attendance?
Whatever, it doesn't have to be me, it's whatever Eugene and you guys would want.
We're able to get a new meeting with the city, and 3 of you from the city office, and 2 of you can do that. That'd be great. I think, looking when you put the back of the dates, I hadn't thought of that. That's probably not a good idea to do that. Making sure the city is good of it, and any conflict.
Well, with your permission, I'll reach out to the city tomorrow, report to you yourself and Mr. Learman, and then see if we need to be on the agenda for such a request.
Are they meeting with
I believe they are meeting in person, at least for the next one. I got to look at I'll look at their.
And as far as the next, like the back, are we looking? How do we want to structure some of those alternative fees?
Yeah, for clarification, are we looking at, because everything's just choppy with all this technology and feedback, are we looking at trying to get this done June 1st or right away? Is that our first date? Is that kind of?
Yeah. I mean, what I thought is that if we think we legally can do it,
Around just before the June 1st, I think.
Oh, so after the 26th.
After the 26th.
Okay.
so if we legally can do it, and I still think we're gonna need to seek Arlene's opinion on it.
But if we can legally do it,
I think that we do
that weekend, the last weekend in May. Do that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we have an option.
I don't think
I personally like to do the 10th, 11th, and 12th.
rather than the 4th of July, because the park is going to be
Set up.
assuming we have 4th of July.
So I think it makes more sense to have that.
That's just me personally.
And then I like the idea of having one on August, I don't know the dates, but the first weekend in August as another option. That's our line of demarcation. If we can't do it then we're gonna have to do virtual or something. Now, it's different for scholarships. I think if we don't do it the first time in May, we're gonna have to do something different on scholarship. That's just my question.
Certainly.
I think that makes a good framework for a plan, as Nathan suggested. And we'll see how it goes, what we learn week to week.
Able to do ceremony. We would also do the senior.
Before, yeah.
All right. Well, again, not next, but you've got some big guidelines to follow. Maybe proceed. All right. So we've actually knocked out our conversation about the senior board consideration for now, which is consideration of the policy 167.1 COVID-19 special update voting. Like
I provided the edit. This is from Steve, our representative from Neola. He provided these. We actually have a big packet of updates that they provide twice a year, but we haven't had a chance to meet up to talk about them. So they'll be coming eventually whenever we get a chance to meet up. This is busy with all this policy stuff. So this is just a clarification. We have the choice of adding that option if we want to into our board policy. And since it's an amendment, I believe we can do it on the first, or it doesn't require 2 readings. It's just a revision.
I move to accept.
Second.
I'll second it.
All right, Russell,
Yes.
Euling, Gill,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Ganell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
And next is item K, which is consideration of policy 8420.01, new policy, special update, coronavirus, COVID-19, March 2020, ethics and pandemics, the first reading.
This is a new policy provided to us from Neola. These are the choices. We can still make edits to it if there are things that you think that are redundant or are not necessary in this policy. And actually, you know, upon reflection, maybe there will be an update to this with all the things that have changed. But I think it's their attempt to supply boards with something to get into policy about this pandemic.
Do you think
You're fine, you're on.
do you think there's anything that needs to be in that policy that needs to be enacted immediately?
No, I don't think.
Because I think we could suspend the rules if you thought that it was something that you needed as an administration now.
Right, I don't think we need to, you know, immediately. I think it's just it's more for preparation of a future pandemic more than anything. And if you, when you read through it, it puts a lot of the responsibility on me to come up with all this and direct it and have a group and all that. So I guess it takes the onus off the board that it's well, not onus off the board, but they direct me to get this done. So, and these are all things that I will compile if I survive all this. But it's a first reading, so there's no vote.
Thanks for being in constant contact with Neil and keep us up to date on that stuff. Next is our discussion of employee health and dental insurance benefits for 2020-2021.
So I had a meeting with our M3 representative, Bree Hellenbrand, last Friday, teleconference, and she went through all of this with me. So I'm presenting this as a discussion item just to, again, this is probably a reminder why we're going to committees, so we can have this discussion in a smaller group and then present it to the full board. But just to give you a quick synopsis of the things that we talked about, I'm going to do the easy one first, and that is dental is zero change. So there is zero change to the dental policy. The health insurance, I had shared with you, I think a month ago, that it was projected to go up 6%. And she actually was able to negotiate with Quartz to 5%. Technically, if we would have not been in this consortium, I didn't print off the actual numbers of claims and losses. We would have had a 16% increase in our health insurance premiums.
16?
16, yep. So, because we were over the 100% payment of claims, it was like 110%. So you add that with also 6% increase. But anyway, I've provided you with some different options, and I think I'm looking at the benefits cost comparison, effective date September 1st. I guess, yeah, that's the. Yeah, it's there. So if we were to just stay with our 500 and 1,000 deductible for 2021, our renewal is the third column over the 5% increase. I must have not unmuted myself. So anyway, to reiterate, can everyone hear me now? So the benefits, I'm looking at the benefits cost comparison sheet. It is this one. Okay, and it has where we're at. If you look at the top, our current plan, what the initial renewal was going to be at 6%, and then the negotiated renewal. So if we were to stay as is, a single HMO, and we always choose the one that is the least costly to offer our staff members, would go from $709.92 to $745.42 for next year. And the family would go from $1,881.29 to $1,975.37. And that would cause an overall premium difference increase of $36,098. So then, as is happening a lot in the world, and I'm sorry, before I get to that, the 2021 rate cap is still at 6%. And she wanted me to make sure to tell you that they will be shopping. They will be going out and looking and getting, quote, RFPs from other insurance providers. So that will be for the 2021. They will be out looking for the best deal for us. They had 2 other schools that applied to come into the consortium, and they did not qualify. because they had too many high-risk claims. So we're very fortunate, I believe, to be in there and not have to be negotiating on our own with our 45 staff members. So then she explained to me the HRA and HSA options. So under Quartz Alternate, the $2,000, $4,000 deductible. And she was very good at explaining this because technically we can set it up so that our staff have the same deductible as they have right now. What happens is that, we can require that the staff pay 500 of that 2,000 deductible or 1,000 depending upon their plan. And we would set up a health reserve account. That's the HRA. It would be managed through a third party, so it wouldn't be something that, you know, we would be burdening our bookkeeper with. And you can see what it does to the rates. If we were to go to the 2,000, 4,000 deductible, the estimated rate would go down 14%. Now, in the first year, the projected savings, based on what claims, you know, people would have, would save the district $103,000. Well, actually, yeah, 6,000, sorry. It wouldn't save us, it would cost us. I'm sorry. So I'm going all the way to the bottom there. The total difference in premium would be 103,000. But we would still be putting money away for each employee into the HRA. So every month we would have to budget for it. We would put in a specific amount of money for each employee, but would it be in our pool? Now, the theory is not everybody's going to claim all of that deductible throughout the course of the year. You know, some people will claim, but it will be up to $1,500 from the school or $3,000 from the school. So that made a lot of sense to me, and it's like, oh, well, that's not that big a deal. The thing for the district to consider, and myself, is that in the beginning of the year, we have to be willing to fund that HRA because we will not have money built up. Okay? It will take some time. But that's just a budgetary thing, you know, that's not a big deal because all our bills don't come true. And she explained that probably the only way we would really get in trouble is if you had a lot of, you know, if you had 5 knee replacement surgeries at once, you know, or something like that. So we would just have to be able to fund that. So what's the difference? So then you have the 3,000, 6,000, same format, and you can see what that would cost the district and what it might save. What's the difference between the HR and the HSA? The HSA, while it provides a little bit of a drop in the premium, well, actually it's a big drop in the premium. That is a health savings account. And in that format, the district would be putting money away, and it is the employee's money. So they get to, they get it. School can't take it back. In the HRA, we don't take it back, but we can build an account so that after year 1, potentially, we're going to have enough money to cover everybody for the second year. I'm not real keen on the HSA after she explained that to me, because every year then you have to put in that amount and be ready to fund that for the employees. Again, this is just discussion. Want you to look at it. You know, when we get to the budget part, it's going to be bleak. So I think we really need to consider, if I were to make a recommendation right now, it would be stay with what we're at or go maybe to soften the blow and go to 2,000, 4,000. A lot of schools are doing that, you know, just to transition into next year, the HR. But it's up to you. Do your research.
Mark, that last one on that list, that HDHP, that's a high deductible health plan. That one is the school putting the money in, or the
No, that the school would put money in all of them.
And with
But
all
it
of,
becomes the employees. in
with
the
all
line.
of these, does the insurance stay the same? Because
The insurance is, yes, except that in that high deductible one,
with
it's
the high
on,
deductible one, sometimes the insurance isn't the same. So like with medications, for instance, insurance doesn't cover anything until you hit the deductible. So like with medications, they wouldn't pay anything until you hit the 3,000, 6,000. So you're paying out of pocket until you hit your deductible with
in the
the
HSA.
with the HDHP, the high deductible health
Yeah.
plan.
And it's on this page, bottom
Okay.
right, the prescription apply and the deductible apply. So yes, and she did explain that. Thank you for bringing that up. If somebody had like, I think she used an example like Humira, which is like, I don't know what it is, but she said like $2,000 a pop. Well, then that person would meet their deductible, but they would have to pay that first. Or we would have to pay it, actually. They would pay their 1,000 if they're on a family plan, and we would have to come up with the 3,000. Or I think my numbers are off.
But for on
That's
these,
a 6,000, yeah.
so for these, for the high deductible health plan, the school would be paying it until the deductible is met, not the employee.
Yeah, yes, yep. But
They still would have to pay at least 1,000 of the deductible. And so it would be similar to what they're paying right now. We would be picking up the larger duration
right
on that deductible, with the idea, at least under the HRA, that not everybody's going to use that. So if we set aside $6,000, family A may use 6,000, but member B might only use 3. That number continues to add up and go from there.
Is there something that says that that the employees' deductibles responsibility for their deductible can't increase from year to year?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat.
Is there something that says that we can't increase the employee's responsibility for a higher deductible that they would be responsible for?
We can choose the deductible. We can choose to stay at the current 500, 100 or 1,000. We can choose to go to a 250, 500, or we can choose to go to a 1,000, 2,000.
So these models are just based on the assumption that we don't want to change what the employee is required to pay, but we could do that. So we could take the 2,000, 4,000 and say that the school will cover 500 of the 2,000 and the employee has to cover an additional 500.
You could do that. That doesn't affect the premium at all.
No, but it affects the amount of money that we have to put away.
Right. And it affects the amount of money that the staff would have to come up with.
All right. The next item is discussion of potential processes for junior prom, 8th grade promotion, and any other end of the year school events that are important to our students.
So seeking input, what do you guys want to do with this? I think there's been a lot of communication in my world with superintendents, just, you know, not just this Six Rivers Conference, but also in this statewide network. Some people are suggesting do a prom in the fall. Some are going to combine them in the spring. I just think we have to think about it. I'm not saying it has to be decided now. But I think, you know, again, that's one of those events that's important to our young people and to the families. 8th grade promotion, again, if we want to delay that like graduation and try to do that in a similar fashion, that's fine. But we have to, you know, go through the process of at least picking out some dates and so on. Just throwing it out there because I know I can't make these decisions by myself, but I'm thinking about these things constantly and I want to make sure that the district is on top of it.
Is it too much to have the regular graduation and 8th grade promotion all in one afternoon or something, or that quite a bit? Since we're, you know, only so many dates and if we're doing stuff outside, I mean.
You know, I don't know. That's a good question. It might double up some families. It might help some families.
I mean, if you did it on a Saturday and you did 8th grade at, I'm just making up times, but if you did 8th grade at 2 o'clock and you did high school at 6 or 7, I mean, we're gonna have to sanitize the bleachers down, but we've got things to do that, those new machines that we've got, or the chairs. I mean, that may be an avenue to do that. It'd probably be a little bit hotter for the 8th graders, but at least it's a solution that we could get in and get done. I'd be open to doing that. I think the idea of a junior prom in August before school or short would be an interesting way to get us out of this funk. If we think we can do it safely, I think that would be, I don't know when sports start. I know when state fair is, but I don't know when sports start in August, but I think that may be something that we could look at. And then the other thing that I had a question about is, I know that there was an email today that went out about elementary school students getting their materials. One is I got a little bit of a concern. I don't know how much materials is here, but I have a concern about the time frame that we have on that. That basically is only a 3-hour window on a Monday during the middle of the day. So I have a concern about that. And then I just question, what about the junior high and the high schoolers? Do we need to talk about that in May? What is the plan for that?
Yeah, we're gonna set that up. The changes to the school schedule will change our timeline. Obviously, we'll want the seniors to get in here, before May 4th or right around there. If we were May 1st, I guess is the date we decided. Yeah, what we can do with that, the time frame, and Dana, please interject if I'm talking out of turn, but the time frame is just that time that works best for the majority, and anybody else, if they have concerns, they can just contact us. We will provide it. We'll have somebody here to make it available. I mean, that's the way we've done it. Dana's come down 2 or 3 times for Chromebook reasons to receive from people. Mike Shannon's collected Chromebooks for us. So I understand the concern over that 3-hour window, but our plan is to spread everybody out and deliver to the vehicles and try to keep it as safe as possible. So when we put this out there, and I don't recall, Dana, if you had provided that to parents yet, but if you have, then you can just add a note that says, if you can't make this time, just let us know what time works. And it's not like, I mean, I'm busy all day with Zoom meetings, but at night it's a little bit of watching TV. And I mean, I can come into school and open the doors and stay in my office and let them, whatever we have to do, I'm willing to do that. And Dana's willing to do that also.
So the last time we had that pickup, there were, I was contacted by some of the families that weren't able to make it during that time, and we worked that out, whether I delivered them to their homes or we mailed them, or they were able to send them with somebody else. So we did have 100% of their packets delivered the day that we had set the last time. And when asking the elementary staff, they thought that the same protocol would be best because it worked so well the last time. So.
Do we have a little bit of a consensus that trying to do the 8th grade promotion at the same time that we're doing the graduation?
I don't know if at the same time. I think maybe this.
Right. The same day.
Same day, much earlier in the day.
I think
or
there
it
would
could
be
the day before. I mean, it'd be nice if we don't have to reset everything up. And so if we're going to do 8th grade on Friday, we do graduation, high school graduation on Saturday, and Sunday's our makeup date. I don't know if we look at do that. And, I don't know. I don't know what would be easiest on parents. I don't have an 8th grader, so I don't know,
Well, I think that would work out the best, because I think there are probably some families that, like, grandparents were coming for one child that's in 8th grade and one child that's a senior, and that would probably help them out if they only had to attend, like, one day we could mainstream it.
I agree with that, Jacinda.
Yeah, the other thing that we're going to have to look at is how many people we can actually handle, and that'll be something that we'll have to figure out in the next couple of weeks.
And then see the award that same day as well, right? So 3 us, 3 all that on.
Mm-hmm.
Talk prom, looking at possibly with an August timeframe to keep that differentiated from the senior prom that will be happening next
Mhm.
school year.
Mhm.
My only question is, will the pit floor be done in August in time for if we have prom?
Well, that's a good question, Jacinda. I contacted Stalker Floors a week and well, actually I contacted them the same day of Governor Evers' order to see if they could get in here as right now. And he said he's working on it, but he's got 4 employees that are off because of this, because of COVID. So he's shorthanded, but he's working on it. I would assume that it would be done by August, but you know what happens when you assume. But then, you know, just like graduation, could we look at an alternative venue or an alternate venue for prom? I mean, that's a possibility. Junior prom. A lot of options on the table because there's so many questions.
Speaking of, I guess it's really not what we're talking about on the agenda, but we're talking about discussions of future things. Are we able to start maintenance sooner now because of that? And are we able to, because we got a little bit behind the 8 ball last year. I don't know if we can make up for some of the stuff that we didn't do last year.
Great question. I talked to Dave Jamiska earlier this week and gave him the go-ahead to start summer cleaning and bringing in staff, practice social distancing. So put 1 staff member in 1 room, and because the difficulty has always been the elementary with summer school. And when I bring up summer school later, we can't have summer school until at least July 1st. So yeah, the discussion has been had to start on our summer maintenance programs now. You know, there's still the considerations with our employees as far as distancing and so on. But yep, it's been had.
Well, you have a lot on your plate to look at with that, and but I think I just want to make sure that we are talking about that information now, so that we can report back out to parents and students when our plans are. All right, next is our item personnel number 17. The first is consideration of an action on employee compensation to extended school closure to COVID-19.
When this first came out, the school board, and I believe rightfully so, chose to continue to pay our employees at their current rate. I sincerely believe we should continue to do that. I think there's some maybe benefits to an employee if we were to lay them off and they go get unemployment, but I don't know if that's the ethical way to handle it as far as, you know, them getting unemployment benefits from the federal government. The stimulation packages that have been proposed, some of them have included education stabilization aid, but there's really no clear direction as to how that's going to be divvied up to schools. It's going to go to the state of Wisconsin first, and then they're going to decide where it goes. I mean, I am hopeful that they would recognize what districts did for their employees and would make some sort of process for us to request reimbursement for some of those funds, you know, for the taxpayers. But to calm your fears about continuing to pay, obviously the teaching staff is still doing their job in the virtual portion of their world. The office staff is working remotely, much like Dana and myself are attempting to work remotely. And our kitchen staff obviously is working a few hours a day in preparation for meals. And our custodial staff is on call. Dave is coming in and checking the building. And like I said, I talked to him. He was actually in the building when I was Monday morning, and I talked to him about starting, you know, all of those custodians are on call. So I told him he can call them as long as we practice the distancing part of it and get started on projects. And the aides, what we've been doing is we are having them contact some of the students that they may have been working with during the school day. We're having them read, at least that's the recommendation, to have them record themselves reading or read in the meeting. So we're trying to, keep them on, but keep them busy. And I also, a thought might be to, allow them, or I don't know if we can change their job description and make, not make them, but encourage them to be a part of our cleanup staff, custodial staff or something like that. But, I think I think what we've done has been great for our community. I know Eugene has shared with me that he's heard positive comments that we are continuing to do that. And then one last thing, it's not quite on this, but the bus contract thing, I've been in contact with the attorney, and a lot of it is just, just sit tight for now and see where all this goes. Don't make any rash decisions. A lot of it depends on if the contracted bus company files for reimbursement of their payment of their employees, then obviously we would seek to have some of that returned back to us, because we're continuing to pay our bus contract as is right now. So I wrote a letter that I shared with you. I did have one mistake that I borrowed this letter. I borrowed it because I liked it. I thought it was very well written. You know what happens when you go through and borrow, you miss something. But I just think I think it shares the spirit of what we're trying to do with our employees.
Mr. Chairman, I struggle with what to do with the employees who do not receive medical insurance. Because if we provided medical insurance to all of our employees, I would not be saying anything. The concern that I have is given, and Mr. Lehrman hit it on the nail on the head in the sense that, and I disagree, it may be an ethical issue, but it may be a financial benefit for some of our hourly staff who does not get medical insurance to be laid off, in the sense that they would be getting the unemployment plus an additional $600 that we can't give them. And many of those individuals we don't necessarily pay in July and August. And so additionally, yes, it's going to be an impact on our unemployment rates that we pay, but we pay a generally pretty low rate in the first place. And we would be able to save that money. And we are looking at not having summer school, or at least, and we are not talking about that, but we're not having summer school the way that we are accustomed to having it. So we're not going to have that money. And we do not, if I'm going to trust either the federal government or the state government to make sure that we get our piece of the pie, I'm not sure that that's the route to go. And I only am considering it because I know that the safety net that's there that we're already paying towards is going to take care of those. It's not because those people aren't valuable. It's because actually the safety net, at least in the short term, which would be until we come back in September or August, would be there, and to fill that in at a greater rate. If it was just equal to what they're getting, I wouldn't be saying it. But the fact is, it would be far greater, and we would be able to save money at least in the next 2 months on it.
Nathan, can I add something?
That motion yet? I at least wanted to say that it's something that we need to consider. I don't know how many, and it's primarily, I guess, for everyone out there listening, primarily aides that we're talking about. I don't know what that savings would be.
Nathan, can I inject something? My only concern with that is currently the backlog on unemployment applications is about 5 weeks. There are people that applied the very first week when the first orders went into place that have not been paid yet unemployment. And I can tell you that through my work experience. So that would be my question too, is because then we would leave people in a lurch if we're not paying them and then they don't get a paycheck or even unemployment for 5 weeks. It'd be different if it was like 1 or 2 weeks, but right now there it's at least 5 weeks. They're looking at possibly 6 to 7 weeks backlog.
Which then almost puts you back in school again, just about, if everything goes on schedule anyway.
So is this an item that we really need to act on? I think so. Right. No, I'm sure.
I think we only agreed to pay him through the previous order, which is the 28th, correct?
Which was the 24th. Wait, no, it was, what was the first one?
6th originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, April 6th was the original one. And we've continued to pay them, obviously. It's whatever you decide.
I'll make the motion just to keep it as we got, like, just keep going with everybody the same as we've been doing right now.
I'll second.
All right, Euling,
Yes.
Gill, Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray,
We lost Lauren.
Ganell,
Yes.
Andrews,
No.
Russell,
Abstain.
The motion carries. As far as the letter, what that wasn't part of it, you mentioned it. So is that letter that you have, that's actually not an item, right? Well, I thought there was a letter.
No, he's just providing that for us for informational purpose. Yeah.
Okay, right, I just want. Right. Good. Good. All right. Next is a discussion on possible teaching staff reassignment.
You know, this is could potentially have been a closed session item, obviously, but I think when you hear the particulars, it'll be okay. We have, just to give you a backstory, we have a high school special education opening, and we have had that opening for a while. And currently, to go back to professional handbooks and board policy, the school board actually has the right to assign people to areas where they are licensed. Now, typically we try to do these things in a mutual agreement sort of thing. But we have 2 staff members currently on staff who are licensed in special education. One of those staff members approached Mrs. Bendorf and I and stated that they would be willing to take the high school special education position, which is commendable for certain, especially considering how difficult it is to find special education teachers in this day and age. It's just a discussion item. I would like to bring it back as an item for consideration, an action item next time. But if you have anything to interject, I just wanted to make everyone aware of it. The possibility.
What would the plan, if that was to be accepted or approved or whatnot, what would the plan be for elementary then?
That is item C.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about both, they're both discussion. I suppose can we talk about them both together? Well, that would be up to you. That would be up to the school board. The school board approved the number of sections in the elementary, but it was stated at that meeting that if something were to happen, if there were a resignation, retirement, something like that, that it would at least be considered of not replacing that position. This would be that opportunity. That class, the second grade class, Dana, correct me if I'm wrong here, because you're more in tune with all those numbers, is 19 currently.
Correct.
So that is, and with the supports that we provide with our interventions and with our aides, you know, we have other classes of that size. So the school board could go replace that position. I think we would have much better luck finding an elementary teacher than a special education teacher, since we still have that on weekend and still do not have a licensed applicant.
Thanks for that information. Next is our consideration of adjourning to closed session pursuant to 19.85.1C, which permits covering in closed session for the purpose of considering employment and compensation of public employees, job candidates for the purpose of items in 17. Oh, well, yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah, that's the one item. All right. And that's consideration of possible action regarding renewal, non-renewal of professional staff.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Gill,
Yes.
Teasdale,
Yes.
Ray, Ganell,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Newling,
Yes.